Awesome. Thanks for joining us today. Today we're going to be covering Node Zero or Horizon 3 Node Zero and really talking about our find, fix, verify loop. Quick introduction. My name is Aleck Brailsford. I run the solutions architects team over here at Horizon 3. Been in cybersecurity for about 20 years now across various organizations, both on the commercial side as well as DoD. Now, let's get things started. There are a number of challenges that organizations face today from a security perspective, and I'm going to talk about a couple of them, and you probably share some of this yourself. One of the main ones is really being able to improve security posture over time, right? You may be employing lots of tools and other solutions within your environment. Maybe you're using vulnerability management to be able to track vulnerabilities. You may be using EDR solutions that kind of help you to be able to do some blocking of attacks within the environment. But environments are still being breached, regardless of, having those solutions and these various tools. And then they're also very cumbersome and arduous, right? So it's a lot of work to be able to maintain them, to configure them. And really, like I said before, organizations are still breached, even though you have those in place. Another main issue is really understanding what is a true vulnerability, right? So what should I be going after and what vulnerabilities are really important in my environment that I need to go out and adequately patch for, right? When you do your vulnerability scanning, you get thousands and thousands of results in return. Typically, what you do is you go after what it tells you are the most critical, and that's really still not helping because, again, environments still get breached even though they're going out and patching these critical vulnerabilities. Another major issue is then the business owners, because what are you really protecting on the back end, right? So it's your intellectual property, it's your sensitive data. Maybe you have an environment that's doing, production, mining, etc. So it's really protecting the business side of the environment is what you're ultimately doing. So then there's a huge problem of being able to prove to the business owners what is the true impact, what's at stake, right? If an attacker gets in and they're able to breach your environment, what exactly happens? Is it, loss of revenue? Is it loss of data, etc.? And being able to prove that and validate that is also a very important factor. Now, within orgs, no one is working in a silo, right? So there are multiple teams, and when it comes to security, security is really a cross-functional type of effort, right? So being able to have the right information to be able to remediate, any vulnerabilities or any risk within the environment effectively is also a big challenge that organizations face. And then the last one is if you're smart enough and you're doing penetration tests, throughout the course of the year, or maybe you're doing annual every quarter, every 6 months, it's that difficulty in once you've done the penetration test and you've gotten the results and you've gone off and you've done the remediation, you then have to wait at least maybe 6 months to another year before you can retest to actually validate whether the fixes that you've put in were actually successful. So really big challenges, right? So how do we fix this? And let's talk a little bit about pen testing, right? So why pen testing and why do organizations do penetration testing, right? Even at all, right? Is that penetration testing gives you context, right? It helps you to quickly validate. So number one, it allows you to really be able to prioritize what is a true vulnerability or a weakness within your environment, right? When you're doing a penetration test, you're literally attacking your environment. You're doing the same thing that an attacker would do to try to get at your critical assets, your PI, etc., within your environment. So it really allows you to then clearly understand of all the vulnerabilities and all the weaknesses that I have in my environment, here are the key things that I have to focus on. So really being able to ruthlessly prioritize where to go and what to go and fix. The other piece that it helps with again is the remediation, right? Once you clearly understand what is at risk, and then also where the vulnerabilities lie and where the risk lies in the environment, understanding then how to go and remediate it. So typically you'll get some type of report on the back end that's going to let you know here is what was discovered, and here are the steps to go off and go and fix that in the environment. So with penetration testing, you absolutely are going to be getting that. The other two things that it covers is really around the response piece. And this is kind of a subset of the prioritization in the sense that you get, like I said before, thousands of vulnerabilities are discovered within your environment. How do you really know which ones to go and hone in on, right? And then being able to respond to all of that noise, with penetration testing, this makes it very simple and easy. The last piece then is the validation part, right? So really being able to validate that once you've prioritized, you've gone out and done the remediation, you've responded adequately, you can now validate that you've actually fixed those issues within the environment. So really having that verification piece on the back end is very important. And the pen testing is really going to allow you to do that. You use the attack sequence to be able to discover what's wrong. You've gone through, remediated, responded, and then the validation comes in, doing that retesting to then understand, okay, is that weakness still available, or have I fully remediated it within my environment? No, with NodeZero, we have a concept that we call find, fix, verify, and we call it the find, fix, verify loop. And really what it is, it's a continuous repeated process of going out and finding where the weaknesses and vulnerabilities are within your environment that are exploitable, right? Fixing them, and then verifying that it's been fixed. And as you do that on a recurring basis, the idea here is that you're going to improve your security posture, right? So number one is the find, right? So really understanding what are the attack paths across your environment, whether it's hybrid, you're looking at on-prem, in cloud, or at the perimeter, being able to look all across those areas, right? Being able to, if your environment is attacked from the on-prem perspective, being able to laterally move into cloud, if necessary, to be able to show exactly how an attacker would operate within your environment. The other key thing here is that an attacker is not necessarily coming in and going after a single weakness or a single vulnerability. They may be chaining weaknesses and vulnerabilities together, right? And that is exactly what we're doing here as well, too, under that find sequence. Is that there may be multiple weaknesses, there may be misconfigurations, weak creds, etc., missing controls, and we can leverage all of these to be able to then get to a level of impact within your environment. The key thing here to understand, because we're doing pen testing also, is that this is not theoretical. It's not a what if. It's not like when you get output from a vulnerability scanner that says, hey, here's a vulnerability and an attacker could potentially leverage it. Or if you're using a BAS solution and the BAS solution says, theoretically, there's a password here, and if somebody takes that password and logs in, this could potentially happen. We're actually proving it. We're actually leveraging that password, and we're going in and we're exploiting that system, and we're showing you exactly how we did it and what level of impact. Taking a step further to the fix now is once we've shown you exactly what is wrong and what needs to be remediated, it's then providing you the very detailed fix actions or the detailed remediation actions. So being able to understand, okay, here's what I need to do specifically to go and mitigate this particular risk within my environment. So it's really allowing you to really prioritize, again, those exploitable weaknesses and go off and fix them within your environment, right? And this, of course, is empowering across the different organizations and teams within the company, right? So because typically what you'll find, especially in larger organizations, it's a different team that's going out and performing kind of the offensive security actions. It's another team that's doing the remediation and the incident response. So with this type of information and data, as far as the fix actions and how to remediate, it really allows kind of cross-team collaboration. And then the last piece is the verify. It's all well and good that you find what's wrong. It's also really great that you go and you fix it, but you want to verify that you've actually really remediated or fixed what was discovered in the environment. So being able to immediately run retests against those targets to say, okay, I found this particular weakness, I fixed it, and now I've essentially closed the loop. And again, as I said before, running this on a continuous basis is where you will eventually get to a point where you reduce and improve your security posture over time, or reduce your risk. Now, really quickly, I'm going to talk a little bit about the architecture of the solution before diving into walking you through in the product exactly how we solve those problems that I just walked through. So really quickly, we're a SaaS-based solution, and we're also agentless, right? So being able to run an external scan. We don't need to install anything within your environment. From a cloud-based perspective or on-prem, we do put in a small Docker container, which we call NodeZero. And essentially, that node is where we run all our attack sequences from within your environment. And we can support, like I said before, both external, internal, on-prem, cloud, Kubernetes, all from that one area. And again, being fully agentless, it ensures that there's not a whole lot to be able to install in your environment. It also ensures, because we're leveraging this small Docker container, that the footprint is very small, very quickly and easily installed within your environment. You can be up and running in under 30 minutes once we have you deployed. So again, very quick, easy solution. It's going to give you the ability to be able to really visually understand all the attack paths within the environment, giving you full context of each attack, right? We have plugins which allow you to be able to plug into phishing campaigns within your environment. I won't get into too much of that today. And then also from an end day, 0-day perspective, we protect you with what we call rapid response. So looking at any type of 0-day or end day threats and providing you attack sequences to look at your environment to see whether or not you're susceptible to those. But today I will be just jumping right into kind of walking you through the solution. So accessibility into kind of the Horizon 3 NodeZero environment is done via this web-based portal. And from the portal, you'll have the ability to be able to see all the tests that you've run previously, be able to manage your full environment of tests. This is where you'll be kicking off your penetration tests. If you're using kind of that find, fix, verify loop that I've talked about, you'll be setting this on a schedule where you can have this run on a recurring basis, or you can just simply come in and you can run ad hoc tests. As I said before, it's really quick and easy to be able to run a penetration test using the solution. We made it very simple that you didn't necessarily have to be, or you don't have to be, a security practitioner, right? Even the most basic network engineer can come off and run a penetration test within the environment. To be able to run a pen test, it's as simple as coming in, there are default templates that you can leverage. You can create your own template, but pretty much all you need to know is what is the scope that you're going to be testing against, right? And typically what we'll tell customers when they're performing testing is provide a scope across your environment. We're very scalable. So we can look at a very large environment, 10,000, 50,000 IPs, where typically when you would do kind of standard penetration testing, you're probably only focused specifically on targeted hosts, right? Because it's very expensive, it's very cumbersome. So you'll typically say, hey, let's go look at the crown jewels. We don't use that concept. We use the concept of looking at the entire environment, because when an attacker is coming in, yes, they may be focusing or targeting your crown jewels, but they're looking for any weak point within your environment to gain that access, right? So it could be a printer that's compromisable, it could be a user desktop, etc. So we typically say set a scope that's going to allow you to encompass various areas of your infrastructure, not just the areas that you're looking to protect, meaning the crown jewels, and then you can go off and run your testing. You can also set exclusions to say, for example, if there are sensitive systems or devices, et cetera, that you don't want to be tested, you can absolutely have those excluded as well. But once you've done this, you're off to the races. You kick off your penetration test. And once that's completed, the results are going to be presented here in the dashboard. Now I'm going to walk you through some quick results just to kind of show you a sample of kind of what the output would look like. So there's a quick summary that kind of shows you exactly the test that was run, some of the major impacts that were found during the testing. And the main concept here to really grasp is, again, we are doing actual penetration testing. It's actual attack emulation, not attack simulation. So we are looking to actually find weaknesses within the environment. At time, it could be based on a vulnerability. It could be based on a particular weakness. Maybe it's a weak password, misconfiguration, etc. And once we find those weaknesses, we're looking to get to some level of impact. Some examples of that are, for example, domain compromise, host compromise, ransomware exposure, which is a huge one, sensitive data exposure, right? Domain user compromise, or even critical infrastructure exposure. No, you can quickly and easily kind of scroll through these, but you can select either on, let's say, a weakness. In this case, I'm going to look at one of these impacts and drill down to get a better understanding of exactly what was discovered, what was done. We present this data, and again, we talk about that ruthless prioritization earlier, right? Where you really want to be able to prioritize on what is going to help me to attain the best security posture as fast as possible. Also, for a prioritization from a perspective of, I want to go after and I want to ensure that I am fixing and remediating any type of weakness that's going to allow an attacker to get into my environment. And when we provide our reporting, it is prioritized in that manner where we're giving you the stuff that once you go out and fix these, this is going to improve your posture tremendously. So I'm going to look at this first example here where in this particular domain compromise, we were able to, and you can walk through a full narrative to show here's NodeZero attacking the environment. It discovered utilizing NBTNS poisoning. We're able to discover a credential that we're able to crack, which then allowed us to get to the level of domain compromise. What's also contained as a part of the output is a full attack path, showing you exactly from NodeZero as it traversed across the environment and exactly what was done to allow it to be able to get to that level of impact, right? So all the systems that were touched, any weaknesses or vulnerabilities that it was able to exploit, and then get to that level of compromise. What you also get are the proofs, right? So this is actually showing you exactly what was executed on each system to be able to get, make that exploit successful. So if the question comes up, well, show me exactly how that was done, you have the proofs to be able to do that. You also are able to see additional detail on the specific weaknesses. As I talked about earlier, that ability to be able to chain multiple weaknesses together, right? So a single weakness by itself may not, even if exploited, may not necessarily get you to some level of impact, but being able to chain multiple together can potentially do that, which we're able to show right here. And of course, we're able to show all the captured credentials and any hosts that were compromised during this event. Now, if I drill into one of these particular weaknesses, it's going to give me some additional detail around the downstream impacts. So our ability to exploit this one weakness allowed us to be able to get this level of downstream impact across all these systems within your environment, right? And in addition to that, you'll see here, we also provide you not only what the impact was and what the results were, but also what are the fix actions. What do I need to do to go out and fix this within my environment, which is very important. For many of you who actually do pen testing or may have pen testing done in your environment, you're probably familiar with, once you get that report, oftentimes what you'll get is a whole bunch of CVs, right? So, which you have to go and do the research and you have to go figure out exactly what needs to be done to go and remediate, any findings, right? We're actually providing you those detailed fix actions. So we make it very easy and simple that once we show you what's wrong, we're showing you exactly how to go off and go fix that in the environment. One key thing I want to point out here, going back to that ruthless prioritization, going out and remediating this particular weakness within the environment is going to eliminate about 33% of the critical impact paths. So this is going to vastly improve your security posture just by going out and fixing this one thing within your environment. Will allow you to really improve your security posture. Give one other example really quickly, just to kind of spread it around a bit. And this is also another domain compromise here as well. And as you can see here, lots of downstream impacts, very similar to the previous one. And of course, fixing this one is going to fix at least 27% of critical impact paths. Now, one of the cool things, going back to that whole find, fix, verify, our capabilities within our product, typically, once you've gone off and you've applied these fixes, you then have to go off and go do another penetration test, right? So, and if you're doing this, yearly or every 6 months, you're going to have to wait a long time to really validate whether or not you've gone through, made this fix, and really remove the impact from these downstream systems. With us, it's very simple to do. Once you've gone off, so for example, this SMB signing not required. You go off, you apply the fix actions, you've remediated it within your environment. Instead of having to do a full retest, you can simply come in and select for this particular weakness that was fixed and select what we call our one-click verify. And it now goes off and runs a singular test just to test end to end to see whether or not this particular weakness was verified was remediated fully or not. Because again, when you're doing these fixes in the environment, it could involve maybe applying a patch. It could also involve applying, a configuration change, etc. This ensures that everything is done end to end, and you're now secure, and you're now not susceptible to that particular weakness anymore. All the data that's contained here is available in downloadable reports. There's an executive summary, which kind of really walks you through at a high level everything that was performed in the environment with very high level detail. There's also a detailed penetration test report, which gives you all the full level of detail of everything that was discovered. It is laid out, again, based on a prioritization. So kind of showing you top weaknesses, et cetera, and then walking you through everything that was discovered, all of the findings, around a particular penetration test that was run. In addition to that is the fix action report. So this is a detailed report that's going to walk you through everything that needs to be done to go out and remediate all the vulnerabilities or all the weaknesses that we're able to exploit in your environment. So again, allowing you to, number one, really be able to quickly understand, where to target within the environment, right? What to target within the environment, going off and fixing those or remediating them very quickly, and then being able to verify very quickly behind that. And again, with many of our customers, what they've done is adopted a principle of scheduling these tests to be run on a recurring basis as often as weekly. So what happens now is I go off, I run a test, I go off, I do my find, my fix, my verify, and I quickly do my retest with my one-click verify. I verify that everything is set, and then move on to the next weakness. And again, doing this on a recurring basis over time, this allows you to be able to drastically improve your security posture by closing all of the weaknesses, right? Your network is agile, so being able to run your penetration tests on a recurring basis is very important to look to see if maybe when I made that configuration change, or when I applied a new patch to the environment, or when we purchased a new company and we added them to our network, did we introduce new risk? So again, utilizing the penetration test allows you to be able to do all of that and have that true validation of what is real risk, and then being able to then understand how to fix and remediate it quickly. I'll kind of open it up now to if there are any questions from the attendees today.
Hey, Alex, you do have a question in the Q&A.
Okay.
I could read it out.
If you
From
could.
Dan, can you spend time discussing tech partnerships? How do folks operationalize the solution? Can it be integrated into DevOps or SecOps tooling, automation, or ASM tools?
Absolutely. So I'll start off to cover kind of the tail end of your question. So integration into DevOps, SecOps tooling, automation, et cetera. We have an open API, which allows you to be able to not only extract data from within the product, but also push um, uh, oh my gosh, what am I saying? Not controls, but push instructions to the solution to be able to kick off penetration tests. So for example, if you've got a CI/CD process that's set up for, say, DevOps, SecOps, you're able to say, using the APIs, be able to kick off a penetration test, have it go off, and once you get the test results, you do the remediation. You can then push back to have it go off and do the one-click verify, and do that all through the APIs. And from a tech partnerships perspective, I'm going to assume this is probably related to integrations, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. But we do have integrations with a number of solutions, both from a penetration testing reporting perspective, like PlexTrack. We integrate with Splunk. We have integrations around ticketing, et cetera, as well. But again, with the open API, it makes us very flexible and extensible in being able to really integrate with most solutions that are out there, right? Whether it be from the perspective of extracting the findings data from us, or utilizing us to go off and go and do testing and then pushing those results back to another tool or solution. All right. Okay, cool. Yeah, all right. So I guess that was answered.
So I don't see any other questions, but I will ask you a few that we kind of commonly get from our customers or prospects. Here's the first one. We use an EDR solution. Won't this block NodeZero?
So really great question. And we get this very often from customers. Absolutely, you're using an EDR solution, and there is a potential that it could block the solution. Many of our customers use this as a way of kind of sparring, right, with their defensive tools within their environment. Many times, even though these tools are installed, they're not configured properly. And we have lots of instances where we've gone in and we've done penetration tests within environments that have EDRs, and we've gotten around the EDR and still been able to exploit weaknesses and get to impact within the environment. So this is a good way to be able to test your EDR solution to see whether or not it's actually working effectively and working the way it should, right? Also SOC operations as well, to be able to test them to see whether or not, are they able to detect when we're performing these attacks within the environment? If not, then some configuration will need to be done. So absolutely, there's a potential that we could be blocked. But more importantly, we're utilized to kind of do that sparring to validate those tools as well to ensure that they're properly operational.
Thank you. That was a good rundown. We also have another question here from Lewis. What updates are coming to the one-click verify, if any?
Sure. So the couple of things are going to be on our roadmap as it pertains to one-click verify, and we're working on those right now. But a lot of it is around really, enabling to make it a lot more efficient than it is today, to really extend its capability across, more sequences is really kind of the best way to kind of sum it up. But we do have items on the roadmap as it pertains to one-click verify and improvements there.
So I don't see any other questions. Another one we commonly get asked is, how do we differ from vulnerability scanners? Seems to be the same thing.
Yeah. So this question comes up a lot. One simple way of answering that, when you look at a vulnerability scanner, it's really looking at what I'd call known entities. So these are known ways in which, are weaknesses that are known within an environment. When you look at us, we're not necessarily focused solely on just these vulnerabilities, right? Because a vulnerability doesn't cover a misconfiguration. It doesn't cover someone utilizing a default password or having like a weak password within the environment. So we're covering all of those areas as well. In addition to that, a vulnerability scanner is only giving you a minor probability of, well, this vulnerability exists and it could be utilized by an attacker or maybe utilized by an attacker. When we're performing an actual penetration test, which is really what we're doing here, we're actually validating, number one, maybe out of 100 vulnerabilities that you may get from the vulnerability scanner, we're validating that, guess what? Only 3 of these are actually exploitable. And even more importantly than that, we're exploiting those vulnerabilities. And then take it even a step further, we're showing you what is the impact of us exploiting that vulnerability. So again, hey, we're able to exploit the vulnerability, then get to a level of impact and be able to say, hey, domain compromise, host compromise, ransomware exposure, which means that, we've got command level access on the system. As an attacker, I can now encrypt data and I can now hold it for ransom. So being able to really demonstrate, here's the level of impact, really helps you understand, more importantly, what the business impact is and what that potential monetary cost could be to you as an organization.
So I don't see any more questions, but we're coming up on time, so I'll just ask one more. Does this replace manual pen testing?
This does not completely replace manual pen testing. This really ends up being an extension of manual pen testing. So one of the key areas, or the key area that we cover from a pen testing perspective, is infrastructure. And infrastructure is usually the hardest It's the largest part of your overall environment that you're doing the testing. It's very difficult to do, and at times this is why when you may bring in a pen testing service, they'll focus on a very small scope, or they'll focus only on the crown jewels, right? Because it's very hard to do. So we've mastered that of being able to allow you to be able to test across your large infrastructure environment, right? 50,000, 100,000 IPs very quickly and efficiently, more efficiently than a human, and allowing then the human pen testers to concentrate on the areas that are a lot more surgical, right? So application and code testing, right? So we don't cover those areas. And those are usually a very small portion of your environment, a much smaller portion of the environment. So again, infrastructure large, cumbersome, very extended. That's our primary focus. And then you can have the human pen testers really kind of hone in on, like I said, looking at the application side of things, which does take a little bit more of a surgical approach from a performance perspective. Awesome. I think that is it for today, and I think we're at time. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining. If there are, let's see. Oh, I saw a last question coming. I'll answer it really quickly. Is this to be considered zero impact to the infrastructure? Yes. So we did develop this to be production safe, right? So again, there are obviously attacks that exist that could take down infrastructure, et cetera, and so on. But we purposely built this to make it production safe, and we removed any type of attack that would cause that type of issue within an environment. So essentially what we're really looking to do here, and we say this a lot, right, is that attackers don't really break in, they log in. So the key foundation of what we're doing when we come in and attack an environment is looking to leverage weaknesses to be able to gain access to credentials, right? Which could be username, password, it could be a token, it could be a certificate, etc. And leveraging those to then allow us kind of that unvetted access into a system, right? If we only get a user level credential, we'll then elevate privileges and be able to and look to be able to elevate privileges and get to some level of privilege level access, which then obviously allows us unvetted movement across the environment. So the answer is yes, this is to be considered production safe. We built it that way. We've done over 100,000 penetration tests to date. Haven't broken anywhere yet. Right. I think that is it. Thanks everyone for joining this afternoon. And looking forward to hearing from you guys soon.